Good morning, dear students of Middle 3. Today I am going to explain for you Unit 13 in O level. The title of this unit is At the Observatory. What is the observatory? The observatory is a building from which scientists watch space. Science can watch space throughout the observatory. Lesson 1. Read the fact file. Can you answer these questions? Number 1. How many planets are there in our solar system? Do you have an idea about that? Number 2. What can you learn about at an observatory? If you are inside an observatory, what can you learn about? Read the website article and check your answers to exercise 1. Astronomy. What is astronomy? Astronomy is the study of the stars. Astronomy is the study of the stars. We ask you to send us your questions about the solar system for our team of astronomers. Astronomers are the scientists who work for the astronomy to study the stars of the sky. Team of astronomers here are at the observatory. Here are the answers. Number 1. How many planets are there in our solar system? Eunice asked how many planets there were in our solar system. I want you to have a look at the question and the answer. The question here, how many planets are there? Are there, you find the verb are comes before the subject there in our solar system because it's a question. Here in the answer here is in the reported speech, reported question. How can I report a question? I say Eunice asked because it's a question. Then I find the question word how many. I have to write it as it is. How many planets there were? The verb are here is changed into the past and it comes after the subject there. There were in our solar system. And the sentence ends with a full stop. There are 8. They are all different sizes. The biggest planet is 1,000 times bigger than the Earth. 3 of the planets are smaller than the Earth. Look at question number 2. Do all the planets have moons? Aya asked. Here this is the reported speech, reported question. How can I report question? Aya asked if. Why do I use if here? Because I don't find any question word in the question. The question is, do all the planets have moons? There is no question word. There is no how or where or when or how many or how much. No question word. That's why I have to write if. I ask it if. Then after if, I have to cancel do or does or did. If all the planets had, verb should be changed into the past, had moons. So what are the steps to change from direct into indirect in the question 4? First, I have to change the verb into asked. I have to use asked. Then if I find the question word, I write the question word. I find how many, how much, where, when, what. I have to write the question word. If I don't find any question word, I have to write if. Then the verb should be in the past simple tense after the subject, if all the planets had moons. Only 2 planets in the solar system don't have any moons, but 1 planet has 62 moons. And 1 has 67. The Earth's moon is round, but many of the other moons are different shapes and sizes. Judy asked, what is shooting star? What is a shooting star? So the question is, what is a shooting star? How can I change it into reported speech? Judy asked. Then I find question word what, so I have to write it. Judy asked what. Then the verb should be in the past and it comes after the subject. What a shooting star was. The verb should be changed to come after the subject and it should be in the past simple tense. Shooting stars are not stars. A shooting star is a small piece of rock that is traveling through space. As it moves, it gets hotter. It usually burns and it disappears before it falls onto the Earth. Question number 3. Is it hot or cold on the moon? I can report it by saying the ad asked if. Why do I use if? Because in the question there is no question word. The question starts with is. Is it hot or cold on the moon? There is no question word. No question word. They had asked if it was hot or cold on the moon. When the sun shines on the moon, it is very hot. It is around 123 degrees. The side of the moon that is not in the sun is freezing at around minus 153 degrees. Are these sentences true or false? Number one, all the planets in the solar system are the same size. False. Number two, two planets in the solar system have more than 50 moons. Correct. Number three, a shooting star is a piece of rock. Correct. Number four, shooting stars often fall onto the earth. Wrong. Number five, the side of the moon that is not in the sun is 153 degrees centigrade. Wrong. It's a minus 153 degrees centigrade. Turn to the page, please. Here on page 20, we'll find lesson 2. Underline the verbs. What do you notice about this word, order, and tenses? Number one, how many planets are there? Eunice asked, how many planets is there? Where? Look in the first sentence. Sentence A is a question. It's in the form of a normal question. How many planets are there? Sentence number 2, I changed it from direct into indirect in the question form, reported question. How can I say Eunice asked. I have to use asked. Then I find question word. How many? I have to write it as it is. Eunice asked how many planets. The verb are here should be changed into the past, and it should come after the subject. There, where, and the sentence should end with a full stop, not a question mark. Eunice asked how many planets there were. So I change it here from direct question to indirect one. Reported question, reported speech. Number 2, do all the planets have moons? Aya asked. Then I find the do. If I find the do or does or did, cancel them and write if. Aya asked if. Why do I write if? Because there is no question word. Aya asked if all the planets had moons. The verb should be changed into the past. Number 3, what is a shooting star? Judy asked what a shooting star was. Is should be changed into the past, and it should come after the subject, shooting star. Number 4, is it hot or cold on the moon? They had asked if it was hot or cold on the moon. Reported question. Reported questions follow the same rules as reported statements. The tense changed to one step back into the past. The pronouns changed according to the meaning, and we put the subject before the verb, or we put the verb after the subject, the same. What is your name? Asked Salma. Salma asked me what my name was. For yes or no questions, we use if after the verb ask. Here, are you an astronomer? The student asked the professor. The student asked the professor if he was an astronomer. We can also use question words after the verbs ask and the object. Why are telescopes expensive? Asked Lena. Lena asked why telescopes were expensive. What are you doing? I asked Rofaida. I asked Rofaida what she was doing. Reporting verbs including wonder, ask, want to know, etc. I can use wonder, I can use wanted to know instead of using ask, no problem. Report these questions. Do you like reading? Taha asked the teacher. The teacher asked Taha if he liked reading. Hania asked, when is the next building? Hania asked when the next building, when the next bus leaving, sorry. Hania asked, when is the next bus leaving? Hania asked when the next bus was leaving. Is should be changed in the past and it should come after bus. When the next bus was leaving. Number 3, will you finish your homework before dinner? Karim asked his sister. Karim asked his sister if she would finish her homework before dinner. I use if here because there is no question word. Number 4, how long does it take you to get to school? Warda asked me. Warda asked me how long it took me to go or to get to school. Take turns now to complete these questions and tell the class what your partner asked you. What time do you get up in the morning? If she asked me what time I got, cancel do, cancel does, cancel did, and use the past tense of the verb that comes after them. What time I got up in the morning. Can you play? Can you play football? Can you play soccer? She asked me if I could play soccer. Can you play soccer? If I want to change it into a reported question, it will be, she asked me if I could play soccer. How often does your mother visit her friends? She asked me how often my mother visited her friends, or how often my mother cooked the food. Number 4, what is your favorite food? She asked me what my favorite food was. Do you like dancing? She asked me if I liked dancing. On page 21, we find ask and answer these questions. Can you feel the earth turn? Of course not. We don't feel the earth turn. Would you like to be an astronomer? Why and why not? Would you like to study the sky? Would you like to study astronomy? If yes, say yes. If no, say no and say why. Listen to an astronomer and answer these questions. Now I'm going to tell you the listening passage. And after the listening passage, you have to answer the questions given here in this square. Can you choose the correct questions from A, D when you hear the bell? Here is the listening text. Listen to an astronomer and answer. Listen to an astronomer and answer the question. Teacher, thank you very much for that interesting talk about astronomy. Professor, could you possibly answer some of the students' questions? Professor, of course. What would they like to know? Could you please explain to me why I can't feel the earth turn? Professor, yes, it's interesting that we can't feel the earth moving. The earth turns around itself at about 1,670 kilometers an hour and more than 100,000 kilometers an hour around the sun. The most important thing to remember about this is that when something is moving all time, you can't feel it. Like when you are on a train. Are you following me? Girl 1, yes, thank you, Professor. Girl 2, I wonder if you could tell me what a star is made of. Professor, a star is made of gas. And here is another interesting fact about stars. Did you know that the sun is a star? It is the only star in our solar system. Girl 2, I didn't know that. Thank you, Professor, teacher. Any more questions? Yes, Salma. Girl 3, I'd like to know if you like your job. Professor, oh, I love my job. But like many astronomers these days, most of my working hours are in front of a computer. My favorite part of the job is when I use a telescope at an observatory, because then I look at the thousands of stars. It's a beautiful thing to see. Girl 4, do you think that we could come and see the observatory one day? Professor, yes, of course. Let me speak to your teacher and we will see what we can do about a visit. That's the listening passage. Now you have to answer the questions given here. Can you choose the correct questions, AD, when you hear the bell? Do you think that we could come and see the observatory one day? Could you please explain to me why I can't feel the earth turn? I'd like to know if you like your job. I wonder if you could tell me what a star is made of. Turn the page. On page 22, complete the polite questions, then match the questions and the answers. Number 1, if you could tell me to become an astronomer, it is how difficult it, I wonder. I wonder if you could tell me how difficult it is to become an astronomer. Number 2, if there's anything you don't like, tell me. Could you about the job? Number 1, could you tell me if there is anything you don't like about the job? Number 3, the biggest planet has how many? I'd like moons to know. I'd like to know the biggest planet. I'd like to know how many, I'd like to know how many moons the biggest planet has. I'd like to know how many moons the biggest planet has. Number 4, star. Explain, could you, what is made of? Could you explain what a star is made of? Now we want the answer to these questions. Number A, gas. Of course, the star is made of gas. This is number 4. B, the answer to number 1, it is difficult. You have to be very good at science and math. C, 67. How many moons are in the biggest planets? The biggest planet has 67 moons. But new moons are found every year, so this is the answer to the question number 3. D, I have to work long hours. This is the answer to the question number 2. Work in pairs, the correct answers. You are waiting for a bus home with lots of other people. When the bus arrives, do you wait for other people to get on until it is your turn, or move quickly to get on the bus first? Of course, I myself, I wait for other people to get on until it is your turn. Number 2, your teacher asks the class a question and you know the answer. Do you quickly put up your hand or call out the answer? Of course, you quietly put up your hand. Number 3, a student in your class has a book that you want to read. He or she asks the class who would like to read it. Do you say, could I read it please, or let me read it? Of course, in a polite way, you have to use the polite expression, could I read it please? Number 4, your friend is visiting your house and you decide to watch television. You'd like to watch a film, but your friend wants to watch a tennis match. Do you say that you are happy to watch the tennis match? Or tell your friend that you are going to watch the film? Choose the answer as you like, according to your own character. Discuss in pairs. If you answered mostly, do you think that you are polite? If your answer mostly A, if you choose A in most of these answers, do you think that you are polite? Number two, if your answer is mostly B, do you think that you could be more polite? Number three, why do you think that it is important to be polite to people? Of course, we have to be polite to people in order to let the people be polite with you. You would like the people to be polite with you, so you have to be polite to the people in the same way. Number four, if someone is polite to you, are you more or less likely to help them? If someone is so polite with you, will you help them or not? Page 23, review. How can you talk about astronomy? Choose the correct word. Moons go around planet or stars, no, around planet. Number two, the sun is a star in our solar or sun system, solar system. Number three, a flying or shooting star is a piece of rock that moves quickly through space, shooting star. Number four, on the same planet, it's more than 400 degrees hot. It's more than on some planets, it's more than 400 degrees. Report a question. Write these questions in reported speech. What is your geography project about? My mother asked me. My mother asked me what my geography project was about. Number two, where are you going on holiday in the summer? I asked Yusuf. How can I change it into indirect here? I asked Yusuf where. I find question word, so I have to write it as it is. I asked Yusuf where. Then the verb here is are. It should be in the past simple tense and comes after the subject. The subject here is you, but you here is about Yusuf. So I asked Yusuf where he was going on holiday in the summer. Number three, what book do you want to read? Our teacher asked us. Our teacher asked us what book. Then I find do or does or did, cancel it. What book I, past tense of wanted to read. What book I wanted to read. Number four, can you play the guitar? Nabila asked Hannah. Nabila asked Hannah if the verb can should be in the past, comes after the subject. You here is about Hannah. Nabila asked Hannah if she could play the guitar. Number five, do you know the answer to the question? I asked Sausan. I asked Sausan. Here there is no question word, so I have to write if. I asked Sausan if she knew the answer to the question. Do and does and did should be cancelled. I asked Sausan if she knew, past tense of know is knew, the answer to the question. Ask polite questions. Rearrange to make questions. You please open the window. Could you please open the window? Number two, explain. Could you are late. Please you to me. Why? Please explain to me. Please could you explain to me why you are late? Or could you explain to me why you are late, please? Number three, you, if, could, wonder, I, me, keep. I wonder if you could help me. I wonder if you could help me. Number four, to know, like, I'd, this is right, if. I'd like to know if this is right. The last one is left for you to answer. Send me, do you think, could you, that email. Writing skills. When we write notes about numbers, we often use symbols. This planet is 1,000 times bigger than the Earth. The planet is 1,000 bigger, here x bigger than the Earth. One side of the moon is usually 153 minus 153 degrees. One side of the moon is usually, instead of writing minus, we write it in symbol, minus 153 degrees. 2 and 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 equal 4. We use symbols, yes, when we write notes about numbers. Okay, thank you, dear students. See you later in another lesson. Goodbye.